Good morning. So thank you, Rick, for that kind introduction, and thank you for your career of leadership on this issue. Grateful to the Century Foundation for your leadership, not only on issues of school integration, but on issues of inequality and addressing poverty that I think are essential to how we move our country forward. Some of you may know I spent the end of last week in Nevada and Oklahoma and Arkansas talking about the importance of a well-rounded education and trying to draw attention to the need for all of our students to have access to a well-rounded education that includes science and social studies and art and music and the opportunity to learn a second language. And we know that too often it is our low-income students, our students of color, who don't have access to those well-rounded education opportunities. As part of that trip, I spent time at a fantastic magnet school, the Las Vegas Academy of the Arts. And I was struck there not only by the strength of the curriculum offerings there and the breadth of experiences that students were having, but about the power of being in a diverse setting for those experiences. And so for me, just as a well-rounded education is essential to fulfilling our mission of equality of opportunity through education, so too is the opportunity to attend schools that are diverse, that are racially diverse, that are socioeconomically diverse. And so I'm thrilled to be here in a room of people who share that commitment and to spend some time talking about how I think we can move that effort forward. There's no question that the urgency around socioeconomic integration in our schools is drawn not only from our desire for better academic outcomes, but also from an understanding that ours is a diverse world, and we must ensure that our students are prepared to succeed in a diverse 21st century society. You can't find a CEO of a major company or a president of a university who won't tell you that one of their top priorities is increasing diversity. And that makes perfect sense because we know that businesses are strengthened by diverse leadership. We know that universities are strengthened by diverse leadership. There's tremendous evidence. In fact, there is a powerful 2015 report from McKinsey that describes that businesses that have greater diversity amongst their employees and leadership actually outperform their industry peers. That should come as no surprise because we know that bringing a diverse group of folks to solve a problem together produces better solutions than if you didn't have that diversity. We also know that the evidence, and Rick cited this, the evidence is strong and long-standing from decades of work, that diverse school communities produce better academic outcomes, particularly for our low-income students, students of color, students at risk, but also importantly, we know that the academic outcomes are at least as strong for affluent students, for white students who are in those integrated environments. So this isn't a question of achieving greater equity through trade-offs between students. This is about bringing students together in a way that strengthens the experience of all students. We know that students who've gone to diverse schools then are better prepared to make the transition to diverse university campuses and diverse work settings. We also know that students, low-income students who have the opportunity to attend socioeconomically diverse schools are more likely to graduate. They are more likely to go on to college. Again, the evidence is clear that this is a policy direction that stands to benefit all of our students. And yet, as Rick points out, we have not made as much progress on this front as we could have and should have as a country. Indeed, more than 60 years after Brown versus Board of Education, we all understand that there are places in America today that are more segregated now than they were even 10 or 15 years ago. And so the question is, how do we shift direction? How do we seize the moment? And I think the Century Foundation is contributing powerfully on that front. Certainly the two recent reports that will be a subject of discussion today are a powerful step forward, providing powerful case studies of places that are making smart decisions to create socioeconomically and racially diverse school communities. We have the opportunity through the President's budget proposal around Stronger Together, where we've proposed $120 million to foster locally led voluntary efforts to achieve greater socioeconomic integration. And we know that that has momentum, and we know from the Century Foundation reports that places like Hartford, Connecticut, or Louisville, Kentucky, are already making tremendous progress on these fronts. We know also that there are charter schools that are making the explicit decision to focus on serving diverse student communities. And Rick mentioned the grant program that we ran in New York that had the intention of trying to accelerate locally led efforts. There are 3 of the New York City community school districts that are today exploring controlled choice programs modeled on the Cambridge, Massachusetts approach because of that state grant. That state grant is helping to support their efforts to rethink their approach. And we also recently put out a request for comment on how we might use the remaining school improvement grant dollars that we have to accelerate, again, locally led voluntary efforts to create more socioeconomically diverse environments. And we should have a broad strategy as we approach this work. It could be that folks choose to do a school that is an arts magnet like Las Vegas Academy of the Arts that draws students from across diverse neighborhoods. It may be that communities choose dual language approaches that allow them to draw together students from diverse linguistic backgrounds so that they can learn from each other. It may be that places build career and technical education programs that draw students across districts. When I was state chief in New York, some of our most socioeconomically diverse environments, particularly in rural parts of the state, were our career and technical education programs precisely because they drew students from across district lines. And so we need to foster a diverse set of strategies as we work towards more socioeconomically diverse schools. This is something that matters to me as an educator because I know the difference it makes. It is something that matters to me as a parent. I'm blessed that my children go to well-resourced, diverse public schools where they are getting a strong, well-rounded education. And my wife and I chose the schools my daughters attend because we wanted that diversity as part of their experience. And I see the benefit of it regularly. One quick anecdote around that, I was at my daughter's softball game, and my daughter's school is about a quarter black, a quarter white, a quarter Latino, and a quarter Asian at Tacoma Park Middle School. And she was out at her softball game, and the team reflects exactly the diversity of the school, and they came off the field, and I said, you know, I love the diversity on your team. It's like a Benetton ad. And my daughter looked at me quizzically and said, what's Benetton? Which is very fair. So I had to explain about the Benetton ads, and you know, as soon as I mentioned the 80s and 90s, her eyes sort of glazed over. But the point was right, that diversity is now a natural part of her school experience. And that is important for me as a parent. I'm grateful for the intentionality with which Montgomery County schools have approached maintaining diversity. Not that it is perfect, and certainly not perfect across the district. But in my daughter's schools, I feel very blessed that they have that experience. It is also, and Rick mentioned this, a powerful part of my own life experience. My mom passed when I was 8, my dad when I was 12. And I went to PS 276 in Canarsie, Brooklyn. It was a school that had an intentional integration strategy. I was blessed in that school to have phenomenal teachers who made school a place that was compelling and interesting and engaging every day. If not for those teachers at PS 276, I wouldn't be alive today. I wouldn't be standing here today. It's because of them that I chose to become a teacher and a principal. I was then fortunate to go on to Mark Twain Junior High School in Coney Island, again, a school that had an intentional strategy around maintaining an integrated student population. And I am better for those experiences. And so I deeply appreciate the difference that the choice of diversity can make in one's long-term success. And so I see this as a critical question for our country. And it is a privilege to be with a group of people who share that commitment. We must bring to it a tremendous sense of urgency. We have to seize this moment. And so I hope that the conversations today will focus on how we take best advantage of this moment to support local efforts to shift the national conversation and to put school diversity at the center of our national conversation around issues of equity and excellence. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. Happy to take your questions.